Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm Christophe, I'm the CEO founder of StoreKit.
Hello everyone, my name is Travis. No one's really listening to me.
They will. Can we have some silence, please, for our lovely speakers? Thank you, Travis. Go again, mate.
My name is Travis. I am the Ops Director at Comptoir Group, a Middle Eastern restaurant group.
Welcome, Travis.
Hi, my name is William Connors. I am a consultant at William Connors Got Tech. I'm formerly of places like Wingstop, Oaxaca, and Burger King, and the Noble Group.
And a few more, probably, right? Yeah, love it. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, you're going to get a bit of a tan here for the next 20 minutes or so. So we're talking about at table tech, friend or foe, which is always interesting. I just wanted to do a quick show of hands, like we've been doing before we start. How many of you feel like you love at table ordering and it's really adding to your, I suppose, your restaurant journey? Stalk it. Put your hands up. Okay, and on the other side, how many people are feeling like it's kind of disrupting your journey or still not ready to look after operators or after your guests? Oh, okay, we can all retire. That's good. Okay, so let's just kick it off. We'll start with you, Travis. How do you think that, I suppose, at table, whatever QR code ordering has kind of reshaped what we're doing at restaurants?
I mean, I actually think in some ways it hasn't yet, because it's sort of, you know, as we've just seen here, like it's not getting the good vibes that maybe it should. You'll hear my view here is I'm a big fan of technology, a big fan of at table tech, and I think ultimately, you know, it's not going to reshape it, but I think it's going to assist it. And I think the thing that we fight with, and you know, people that are pro it, people that are against it fight with, is that it maybe hasn't been implemented properly, and maybe it's the wrong format for the wrong place.
Yeah, true. And obviously you've probably rolled a few of these solutions out across your career.
Oh yes,
Mr.
yeah.
Tech.
Well, at Oaxaca, we were one of the first ones to put in pay at table, and also too we've been using different brands like StoreKit throughout the years. But I think they're fantastic. It adds more information at your fingertips, like allergens and calories, but also too you can time your meal better. So if you want to pay and go, you can. It's a tool that is there to support the rest of your team.
And Christophe, you're at the coalface of this stuff. You're speaking to operators every day, attempting to buy StoreKit. And is there still hesitation? What kind of, I suppose, barriers are you facing when you're trying to sell it now?
Yeah, I think there's reluctance from operators mostly. I mean, there's really two parties to this. There's a customer that come in your restaurant, and then you have obviously the operation. And you know, an operation is people and organizations that you've got to manage. It's also a culture and a vision. And I think many operators have grown into restaurant operators. They didn't dream to run the restaurant with QR codes. There's a bit of adjustments that needs to occur. But yeah, there is reluctance. There is a fear of the operators to disappoint their customers, to not provide the right type of experience. And I think we're a technology provider, so we're providing a tool that provides good experience to the consumer, but there's a big part of the work comes down to the operation and the staff, and making sure that steps of service are modified and run in the right way and consistent way. And it's the success of this change is really down, and I think that's really important, to leadership and the ability to from operators to lead this change top down in the organization and make sure that the use of technology is in line with their vision of hospitality. And we can really make that happen, and we see it now in the market with a number of mid-market operators. It's a Pilgrim's Bow or two, for instance, very good case using StoreKit. We managed to maintain a high level of service that's evidenced by the quality of the reviews that they're getting. They're getting more reviews, they're better than before. They get some excellent results as well from a business standpoint, KPIs, costs, and so on. It's really, I think, expected by customers. And that last point is also quite important. The consumers are ready for that experience.
Questions? Thank you, Christophe. No, I was just, and you know, we're obsessed with the magic of hospitality, right? As in, like the bit of I've never been interrupted by a plane before. It's the first. But we're obsessed by kind of the stuff that the humans do at the table, right? The magic of it, and working in harmony with tech. I think we're seeing. You just mentioned Bao there, and you're seeing it happen more. Travis, do you think that that's where the journey people have got to go on? That they've got to realise that actually that this is what the consumers want, and actually we can still produce the magic that we want to produce in restaurants, but it requires some working together.
Yeah, I absolutely do. Like, I think as an operator for not many years, an increasing number of years, there is a bit of a view in our minds sometimes that we deliver this, 5-star service, whatever's right for your brand, but like we deliver this amazing thing every day, all the time, consistently across our whole estate, across the UK, and we all know that consistency is our biggest problem. And actually, if you can get good tech implemented properly that fits the thing you are trying to do, maybe that's kiosks in a QSR brand, maybe it's assisted service in comptoir, maybe it's order and pay in a pub beer garden. Like, that is absolutely what people expect. You don't go buy insurance now by going into a shop and speaking to a human or making a phone call. You go online, you use some technology, you get a personalised experience. Like, customers are ready for technology to be part of almost all facets of their life.
I totally agree. And William, you've spent your career kind of across some pretty big brands actually, installing this kind of technology, or at least trying to enhance the customer journey. What's your opinion on whether are we closer to that?
Yes, absolutely. And as said before, the customers are more accepting of it now. But it's actually getting a bit of a culture change because it's a tool, and you have to get your managers and your team to embrace the tool and use the tool to improve the overall service.
But I think as an industry, our old habits die. What's that phrase? You can't teach a dog new tricks. It's a strange phrase, but it's true. And I think that we struggle sometimes to adopt. And we talk about adoption on the first panel this morning. I think, Christoph, some of the lack of adoption we see across the industry is a bit of a barrier. How are you guys kind of getting across that? Because obviously you've got to convince these people that it's a good idea and show them some tangible results, right? The ROI that we talked about before as well.
Yes, no, you're right. I mean, we've been ready for a few years. The platform keeps getting better. I think the macroeconomic conditions have led some operators to really think deeply. And again, I mentioned Bao earlier, that they were actually the first to I think, do this in a really smart way. They thought about it they thought about their experience as a product. The technology was part of it. We produced it. But then they also completely changed the way they interact with the customers. The words that are pronounced in the very first 30 seconds of the experience, we all know these moments are key, and they managed to drive a huge adoption. You're talking above 80% of adoption of the turnover of the restaurant is now going through effectively QR code technology, but it's just presented in a really interesting way. People haven't been to Bao. I really encourage you guys to do it. It's really interesting what they've done. And I think that's what the industry needs. And you're right. There's lots of restaurants that have a QR code. It's copper old QR code that probably most people don't believe will work. The staff haven't been trained properly. They don't know if it actually works. And yeah, of course, that's going to lead to 1% adoption. So I think it needs to be very deliberate. And again, it's leadership in operations need to drive that change in the use of technology.
And I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, but something I've written down here: believe the tech, not the server. Are we at a point where our churn is so high in the industry? Travis, looking at you. It's not your fault, by the way. But we've got so many people coming in and out of the industry, which, I'll be honest, has always been the same, right? We've been here for a long time, haven't we, William? It's always been the same. That hasn't changed. Are we at a point where tech can solve that consistency problem you were talking about, in the fact that allergens, all the serious stuff we should be delivering at table, and recipes and knowledge and upsells and all that kind of stuff can be done quite clearly now through technology? Yeah,
I definitely think we are. And I think, if you were going to look at, how many individual front of house servers might make a mistake taking a order on a bit of paper versus how many QR code led transactions are going to cause a glitch where the allergen is wrong or the order isn't put through properly. Technology is going to be better at that. Like, computers will make less mistakes than humans, but again, this is not a black and white thing. I think it all needs to come down to what are you doing, what is your operation trying to achieve, and how are you implementing it. And I think probably the thing in all of our minds that we're less comfortable with is the idea of like in casual dining or any sort of restaurant scenario, how do QR codes and at table stuff fit into that mix? And I think that that's the bit that hasn't been solved, or that only a few operators are starting to solve, because that isn't just a QR code on a sticker on a table. It needs to be much more deliberate.
And bear with me here, but AI obviously is a big deal at the moment, and a lot they hear you talk about AI as use cases, so people, well, how would you use AI in your business to improve it? But I think it's almost the same with at-table ordering, right? What scenario applies to your business that works well? And it must have changed, William, since you were at Oaxaca. We talked ages ago about Oaxaca looking at, I think, was it flight pay or something back in the day? So, all the way back there to where we are now, how much of a journey do you think not just our internal boards and our leadership teams are going on, but also the customer? Because as I think Travis said, they want that now.
Well, I'd have to say from where we were at Oaxaca to where we are today, it's just gotten more seamless and more feature-filled. I mean, the great thing about Oaxaca was when we actually started doing pay at table, we were at like 15% usage, and then after COVID, it rose to like up to 80%. And now what it is we're not only looking at the customer journey and the timings, but also the data, because before we were like, has that person come in here again? It's like, now we know when you come in, what you eat, what your favorite food is, whether you have kids, are you segmenting the data by asking different questions? So it is a tool that can be used by not only operations, but marketing and the head office across.
Yeah, it's true. And the ladies before us were talking about GiftPro, right? How they're using the data to be strategic. But actually building for operators, Christoph, or building tech for people, for the UX, both on the customer side and from the back end where the customers, the operators are using it. How hard is that to do, or is it a constant listening? You said you've been going for, how many years have you guys been around for now?
Well, we started building Storage 5 years ago.
Right, okay. So I'm guessing you've been through a few iterations.
We've been through iteration. I think it's a fine one. We do listen to the feedback of our customers. We talk to them all the time. At the same time, we had a bit of a militant, opinionated approach about things. You guys have all seen the movies and the books about Steve Jobs and how he had this idea of how things should be done, and kind of telling the customers how things should be. And we kind of followed that idea. So we made a few resolute, very specific decisions at the beginning when we started building the product. And we didn't listen to operators saying, yeah, but I would like the button here, or I would like the categories to be shown differently, because actually operators are not software product designers. And we thought that, we wanted to build a consumer-grade product to ultimately enable operators to offer these great experiences. So we've been very militant, we have a few opinions, but we also build and iterate, yes, of course, based on feedback.
No, I think it's great, right? You've got to be confident in your product and confident that actually what you're building will have the ROI that the people are asking for, which leads me to ask any of you, I don't know, in terms of ROI, have we got much proof in terms of basket spend versus speed at table versus labour saving, all that kind of stuff? Do you have any data or stats you can share with us? I guess I'm looking at you again.
We can. It's very disparate depending on the business. Again, how they're using it. Are they using for click and collect, delivery, catering, in-venue? We're talking about in-venue, I guess, today specifically. The type of operator. But I think the KPIs that people tend to look at are spend per head. Is the system able to upsell more than my waiters? In many cases, the answer is yes. Not always. Sometimes it is, and if the system is getting better, we're using AI tool to generate recommendations on the fly. Turns out AI is pretty good at recommending how to pair wines with the dishes you have in your basket. It's quite interesting. Labor cost is obviously a huge topic. We've seen across the board front of house labor cost reduction 20 to 5%. I give quite a broad range, but again, it depends how you use it and how much in your restaurant. But that is not something I think many operators can avoid to do in the current conditions. And then there's also the tipping and service charge, which is something interesting where we see systematically increase in service charge and increase in tips left by the customer, which is quite counterintuitive. You'd expect customers to leave less tip. Actually, they do leave more tips than they used to on the car terminals. When they're on their phone, there's a bit of intimacy there. That's the moment where they actually are typically more generous. That's what we've discovered.
Extra burger, more tip. I like it. Travis, maybe let's just move the extra burger. You mentioned on the pre-call, waiter's friend. Was that you said that?
Yes.
And we were talking about the fact that you talked about the server and trust the tech, not the server, but you're looking at it in a different way, aren't you? You were suggesting that actually this should be a support mechanism for all these teams, especially who are facing the challenges that Christoph was talking about.
Yeah, I think the big problem when we looked at this is, we had two different service cycles happening. We had the option of a QR code on the table that almost everyone has in some way, and then we had our normal service cycle, which was entirely human-led, human-driven, and like there was no real point just replacing one system with another if it was going to be exactly the same. So, and we wanted to blend them together in order to assist service, make it better, take away those pinch points where we are a bit stretched. One of our biggest problems in terms of guest feedback is not being able to get hold of your waiter when you want someone. And so the two times when that's a problem is when you want another drink, or you want another bit of side or meze or whatever, or when you want to pay the bill. So actually, if we can bring those two things into the experience that you can solve for yourself at any point, so our version of QR code ordering now involves two main things that are different. One, there's no QR codes on the tables. You've got a physical item, we call it the waiter's friend internally, but it is I think quite beautiful. It's not the perfect iteration yet, but it's quite a beautiful Middle Eastern designed item with a QR code embedded in it.
Like a spoon, or?
More like a bookmark, I would describe it
Okay.
as. But so that's something that we bring to the table, goes on the menus, so the guest knows there is a physical thing that is part of their experience that they can use to add to their order, pay their bill if they so desire. And we sort of message it as, if you can't get hold of me, please know you can pay a bill any time or get a round of beers or whatever. And then the second thing that is different, I've forgotten. So
That's fine. And I think, actually, I've just forgotten what I was going to ask as well. That's weird, it's catchy. No, I was going to say, William, is actually the real problem solving here, or trying to give customers choice? Because actually, I don't want you to tell me what to do, right? When I go for dinner, I just want to go for dinner. I'm not thinking about what I have to do, but are we actually just solving this problem by saying, look, you have a choice. You can check out now, you can order now, you can add now, or you can use the waiter.
You'll never be able to separate the server from the guest experience. What it is it's a tool that the restaurants can use to use it as a pedestal to raise their game a little bit. I mean, we have different problems where you have less experienced staff coming on, so you can use that as a tool to say, what are the allergens? I can find out. You can use it to retain staff by asking questions like Yuda, like Toddy, where it's like, what do I do in this situation? And we'll come back and say, yes, you can do that. So the thing is technology is your friend if you use it properly. But the thing is it's not going to replace a human. It's just going to probably make it more efficient.
Technology is your friend. I'm taking that one home today. Look, and I can smell the food coming soon. I just wanted to get. Have there been any surprise wins by using this kind of technology in your businesses? I mean, we talked about the bookmark. But is there anything you were like, wow, I did not think that would happen?
Two things. I'll try and remember them both this time.
Thanks.
But
it's kind of your job.
Yeah. Reviews. Because we have a tech-enabled process now, especially for checkout, if people want it, we're getting per month hundreds more reviews onto Google. We all know how important our Google number is, and getting positive reviews, 5-star reviews onto there didn't think it would be to such a great degree.
That's great.
And then the second one is people wanting to use digital menus to see pictures and videos of food. So
that's crazy, because I remember the days of the augmented tables that had the pictures.
And it's a key reason our team like to talk about it, is because they can be like, look, if you want to see what your mixed grill looks like, there's great photos there. We haven't done it yet, but we can add videos, which would be really cool. Show a video of a mixed grill being cooked on the grill. That's really powerful, I think. And never thought about that before we rolled it out.
Yeah, and visual, I think, is a key. Right, we're very visual people, especially when we're out dining, because it's an experience, right? So text is a bit dull. What about you, William? Anything surprised you when you've done this?
Well, just seconding the videos, StoreKit has the ability to embed videos into the menus, and you can actually make things look like it's M&S, like it's not just a pizza, it's a store. But another thing which was a huge surprise, this is going back to Oaxaca, was we were kind of expecting usage of maybe 50% tops like that, and it's 85 in some places, and it's like, how like that? So we looked in, and what it was we linked feedback to the pay at table, and so immediately the customer would come back and say, we liked Chris's smile, Chris's thing. And all of the servers were trying so much harder because they knew they were going to get this positive feedback. So they were saying, yeah, please use the pay at table and give me a nice feedback. So the thing is that that was something that was completely unexpected, but it's good for everyone.
Brilliant. Look, and we've got tons of questions. Sorry, guys. So just keep you for 5 more minutes if you don't mind. What's worked best in training staff to trust the tech, not fight it? I suppose we could do that both from the supplier side and from the operator side. Christoph, what's worked best in terms of getting these guys to get above that 1% adoption?
Again, I'm going back to the point I've made. It's the vision by the leadership and how clear the explanations are made of why this is done and how this should be done. And if there's a strong confidence of the leadership, then the training is well thought through, the staff will not be fearful of implementing these new steps. It's as simple as this.
It is simple, isn't it? It is like rolling out a project, whether it's a new menu, it's just another project, but it needs buy-in.
What I would just say, sorry, is I would encourage the leaders to go out and experience at table technology as customers themselves several times. It's a new technology. You need to understand, you really need to understand what is the customer's experience so that as an operator, you can design the right process and the right solution. There's this idea that QR code is a little bit weird, it's fine in a pub, but if you don't experience it yourself a few times to get a bit used to it and get through that first hurdle of the first adoption, the first try can be a bit new, you realize how quickly that turns into a habit, and you understand how you can roll it out at scale. So I think that's a good investment to do for.
No, I totally agree. Very quickly, I sat with Gavin in Pizza Pilgrims, and we sat and watched the table in Kingly Court on Regent Street, and we watched the table paying to check out. Right, it was a family of 4, and it took, I think we timed it like 6.5 minutes to. They were finished, coats on, ready to go, and they were trying to get the server. Right, service, that place is crazy busy, so the server's running around, and we just said that we could have solved that in a minute. So it's just an interesting example of exactly that leadership seeing that problem and feeling it and going through it. Sorry, you're going to give an example.
I was just going to add, from I'm definitely not an expert in change management, but I think I would echo what you said about the leadership, and not just the leadership in the business, but the leadership in each individual place. They need to be on board, and so there's all that bit of getting your people on board, and a process that does work. I know that sounds silly, but we started off with a few ideas about how we do pay at table. The ops team said definitely that isn't the way that it will work, and we very quickly agreed, and we're open to that feedback, and I think you've got to do it with people, not through or onto people.
Very good point.
Kind of complementing what was just said was the fact that you have to invest heavily up front, train your teams very well, get the supplier on at the sites. Do one site first before to make sure everything is working, and then kind of spread out. If you just do a tick box and say, yeah, on the 20th, just turn it on and stuff, you won't get any usage because you have to win over your staff, you have to win over the customer, and then once you're at that level, it's very easy to keep it at that level.
And have we got time for one more, Jesse? Am I? Yeah. Okay, good. Let me pick a good one. There's lots here, by the way. Do you think tech will always need that human assist, or can it eventually stand alone? Travis.
I saw my initial go-to was yes. However, the day that we replaced the QR code with a voice AI on my table, and I can just order from a good AI, I think that's cool.
Okay, he doesn't want any humans. He's seen his labour cost.
I think it will depend on the experience you want to create, and but if you want to have a mid-market restaurant with a reasonable average spend per guest, and you want to control your business and scale it, you will have to use technology more or less. So.
I think in QSR, right? You've got a lot of experience in QSR, especially recently. I think you're almost there, right, on that customer-facing element that humans aren't there.
Well, I suppose it depends on the brand. Like what it is you want every customer, whether it's QSR or five-star dining, to be immediately recognized and appreciated, and that the service flow is very smooth. That's guaranteed everywhere. I mean, there's certain brands right now where they've completely removed people, and it's just somebody handing out food, and I think that's probably a little bit too far on the other side. Because it's not just the food, it's the people, it's the warmth, it's the atmosphere. And tech isn't, I mean, there's one place that, one company that I saw doing a full interactive thing on the tables and stuff. I mean, there's always possibilities of new things, but the thing is humans, people want to deal with humans. I don't think that'll ever go away.
What a lovely way to end. Look, thank you very much. We've been chatting for an hour and a half. You've been very well behaved. So, a little round of applause for our panel here.